Thanks for tuning into the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about how Hertz is in trouble, the car rental company, with their large investment in EV cars, which they chose to go with Tesla. They did a large purchase of Model 3s and the Model Y. But before we get into it, I'm going to ask everyone for a big favor. Smash the like button, leave me some comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I really would appreciate it. Now, let's go ahead and get into it. I know some of you are not a fan of EV. They take a long time charging, and the affordability is not all there with these EV cars. I think if they can make the charging a lot quicker, then that will be a big benefit. And it would have, I think, a lot more people buy into the EV. I think that's one of the problems that we're having. It's just that's a big inconvenience. If for some reason you're traveling, you're going a long distance, and you got to wait about 30 minutes or maybe longer to charge up, that's a big con. Now, they also, a lot of them are on the high end when on price point, so affordability is not there on a lot of them, but prices have been coming down. And with the article we're about to read about Hertz and what's going on with Hertz and how that's going to be bringing down the prices on Tesla and EV vehicles, we're going to get into that. So I did take some notes because I don't remember all the information, but I'm going to be reading an article that I found that's really good, that's going to give a more detailed explanation of what's going on with Hertz. And if you're not familiar with Hertz, they're a rental car company. But even though they're a rental car company, they also have locations where they sell cars. Right. And now let's get into it. So Hertz is accelerating their sales of the Tesla vehicles and plans to sell tens of thousands more this year as their value is crumbling. Values on these EV cars is going down big time. So isn't the car market's going down right now? The economy has been doing good, but there's been a slowdown with the high prices and high interest rates. People that are financing cars, borrowing money, it's expensive with high interest rates. And to still sell cars, they're bringing prices down, increasing incentives. So if you're wondering, is it a good time to buy a car? It's gotten a lot better than where the market was before. So if you need one right now because you were in a car accident, your car broke down, whatever it is, in my opinion, it's not a bad time. Especially if you're going new because of the large incentives. They're even doing great deals with interest rates if you're approved for it. It depends on your credit. Now, I am going to be sharing the screen soon so we can see some of these Teslas and you can see some of the prices. And some of you are going to say you still hate Tesla. Some of you are going to see an opportunity where you may be able to own one now. But let's read a little bit more. So back in 2021, Hertz announced an important effort to make their fleet electrical, a large part of it to be electric cars. So they did a massive purchase of 100,000 Tesla Model 3 vehicles. Later, the company added the Model Y, which is the crossover SUV. A lot of people like the Model Y. The rental car company's fleet grew over the last few years, and it reported that Tesla vehicles are increasing Hertz customer satisfaction. So it looks like a lot of the people that are renting cars when they were put in a Tesla, they were happy with the experience. Now, this is good because you want your customers to be happy, so that's good for Hertz. And if they're liking the car, that's good for Tesla because they're probably going to sell more and people are liking the product. But the honeymoon phase ended quickly as it started slashing the Model 3 and Model Y prices in 2022 and 2023, resulting in a crashing in the resale value of its vehicles. Tesla started to make incentives for their vehicles to be more affordable to sell more cars. Now, this isn't good for a rental car company. Why? Because most rental car companies, I know this because I worked for a rental car company about 10 years ago. I worked for Enterprise, not Hertz, Enterprise, but they do the same thing. They rent cars. Rental car companies, they buy a large amount of cars every year, and they tend to keep the cars in the fleet just for 1 year. And after a year, they'll sell them off. Sometimes they do keep the cars longer. For those of you that worked in rental car companies, say, oh, it's not always. I know that sometimes they keep them longer. But at the end of the day, rental car companies keep their cars short term. That's why whenever you're renting a car, you see that the cars are either new or fairly new. They don't tend to rent out old cars with high mileage. They tend to get out of them within a year or two, and they'll have between 40 to 50,000 miles. sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, but that's just a ballpark so you get an idea. If I buy a Tesla Model 3, for example, for 40 grand, and back when Tesla first came out, the Model 3 was a $40,000 car or higher, depending on the package you would get. I know Tesla charges even for the color, so depending on the color, the wheel options, interior, the white interior, I think it's like an extra $1,000 or $2,000 depending on the model. So you could be paying more than $40,000 back a few years ago. And what a rental car company would do, let's say you rent it out for a year and you make $15,000 renting it out, and you sell that car for 35, right? You made $10,000 off that car. And the larger your fleet, the more money you would be making. So it's very important that your inventory is holding its value. If out of nowhere the value of your cars start to plummet, you might not make any money. If I only made 10,000, or if I rented it out for a year, in this example, and I made 15,000, and the car drops $20,000 when I go sell it, I won't make any money. Even though I put all that effort in renting it out and everything, I won't make anything. And that's not good, because if that happens to you too long, you're going to be out of business. The only way you're going to stay in business is by making money. So this basically, when the values of these cars are crashing like they are right now, Hertz has no other option. Hey, we got to get rid of all these cars. This investment that we thought was good, it made it started good for them, but now it's quickly changing, and they're acting by flooding the market basically with these vehicles. So I'm going to be sharing the screen. That way we can see some of these cars for sale right now through Hertz. But as they're flooding the market with them, you're going to be seeing these at other large franchise dealerships and other lots, because they're going to be flooding the car auctions with them. And the more of these Tesla come, onto the market, the price is going to go down. You're going to have a large supply of them, and the demand's not that high. So price is definitely going to be going down. So now let's get back to this article. This was incredibly harmful to Hertz, as its finances rely on its fleet maintaining its value. And they say in 2020, Tesla Model 3s managed to retain up to 90% of its value within 3 years. Like I said, when the car first came out, it really held its value, and that's important for a rental car company. You want the cars that you're buying to rent out, that they're holding their value. And it was. Like anything new, when it first comes out, it tends to be high in price point, and with the popularity and everything, it will stay high for a while, and then eventually that'll fade down, and then the price will come down. And that's what's happening right now with the EV market. And it's not just Tesla, other car companies are having these issues. And some of the complaints I've read, because I don't own an EV, but from what I've seen on YouTube, read, and friends and family that do own these cars, what they tell me, they don't like how long they have to wait to charge the car. If they go on a long trip, the range sometimes is not that long. It could be under 300 range when it's fully charged. Some cars are longer or lower, depending on the one you have. But these are some of the inconveniences that come with an EV car that hopefully, I'm sure these car companies are going to work on and improve over time. But right now, that's where we are. So it used to hold its value, but now it says, then in the next 3 years, they lost nearly 50% of their value. It was even greater for the Model Y from its peak in 2022. So what the article is basically saying is, in 2020, the Model 3 managed to retain up to 90% of its value within 3 years. Then in the next 3 years, they lost nearly 50% of its value. It was even greater for the Model Y. So the crossover one is even losing more. That's not good. Earlier this year, Hertz announced that it would sell about 20,000 Tesla's vehicles earlier in order to counter this trend. However, with the release of its earnings today, Hertz announced that it would accelerate the sales of Tesla vehicles. The company now expects to transition its fleet fully by the end of next year, which would be 2025. So Hertz is planning to get out of these Teslas, and that's what they're doing. They're flooding the market. We have a ton of used Teslas coming out, and the demand isn't that high for them. So now you got a higher supply than demand, so that means the prices are going to go down. Now, a lot of you are waiting, hey, when is he going to share the screen? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to share the screen. And I'm actually going to take you onto the Hertz car sales. No, sorry. I actually was on here when I was looking at it just to see what the prices were going before I was making this video. So I want to take it back to the first page. If you are someone that wants to experience owning an EV, or maybe you want a Tesla, right? Maybe this is your dream car, because for some people, they consider Tesla a luxury brand, and to them, it's their favorite car. It all depends on who you ask. People have different opinions. To me, I'm not a big Tesla person. I don't think the car's that great looking or anything like that. And I know I'll probably get some comments saying, "Are you crazy?" and things like that. I'm not a huge fan of them, but I know some people are. And if you are a big fan or you want one, now you have an opportunity to get one for about the price of a new Corolla. Right here, you have a 2023 Tesla Model 3 base sedan, it says here, for $21,839. So that's under $22,000 right there. It does have 53,000 miles. So this particular one that we're looking at, it is a little bit on the higher side when it comes to miles, in my opinion. That's a great price though. A couple years ago, you would not be driving a Model 3 for around $21,000. You wouldn't. Now you can. That is going to be more attainable for a larger percentage of people. And if you were a fan and you want to try one, there you go. If you think that's too high on mileage and you can go a little bit higher in price, then there are some in the lower mileage and they're under 25,000. Right here, you got the gray one, another gray one. And this is just the Hertz car sales, because I'm talking about Hertz, what's going on with Hertz, with their investment with the Tesla vehicles and how they're selling them off. So I wanted to see what the Hertz car sale branch was selling them at. Now, you can also go on other websites like Auto Trader, and I'm not sponsored by Auto Trader. I just like Auto Trader. There's Car Gurus, there's other cars.com, all these websites where you can see pre-owned cars. If you wanted to see what Teslas are going by near you at a large franchise dealership, those are good websites to go on, and you might even find better deals. These are just the prices right now going on the Hertz car sales. But remember, Hertz is taking, because rental car companies, they buy a large amount of cars, right? Hertz bought over 100,000 Teslas over its time. And now they're just trying to get rid of all of them. So you have a lot of these cars hitting the auction blocks. And when they're at auction, you got, different car dealerships going there, buying them at a great price, and they're selling them. And they may be selling them at a better price than Hertz car sales. So it all depends on what they're getting them at. But the point of this is now they're becoming more affordable. Now, I get it. They're still high. Some of you are going to say, oh, they're still really high. But as the price goes down, it's going to become more affordable. And if you are someone that wants to, hey, I've always had a gas car, I want to try out EV, or you are a Tesla fan and maybe you were priced out, now this is an opportunity where they're coming down and you may be able to get into that Model 3 or maybe even that Model Y. I know with some people, the Model Y is very popular because they feel it's an SUV. Even though it's a crossover, they feel like it's an SUV and they really want to get into it. And you can see here some Model Y for $31,000. And to be honest, right now you go to a car dealership and let's say Toyota, a RAV4 could cost you 30 grand depending on the trim level you want. And this one says it's the long range. Let's see here. This one is a Model 3 with 35,000 miles and it's going for 24,800. And this is what they're asking. I've never gone to a Hertz car sales. I don't know if they're negotiable, but if they are, you might be even able to get it for a better price. Here's one for 25,000 and it has 26,000 miles. You can see the miles vary. Some have low miles, some have higher mileage. And as you look around more, you're going to find some with ultra low mileage. And I'm sure going for a great deal. But I wanted to share the screen with the Hertz car sale so you can see some of that Hertz is selling. If you're not a fan of buying a rental car vehicle because it's been driven by a lot of people and things like that, because I know some people, they don't want to buy a car that wasn't a rental car company because so many people use them. And I understand that. You can go again at Auto Trader, for example, and look at Teslas that were owned by one person, a one car owner, if you're looking for a used one that was not in a rental fleet. And you can know this by checking the Carfax. If a car was in a rental fleet, like for Enterprise, Hertz, or one of these other rental car companies, it will say it on the Carfax. It will say rental. If it says rental, it says fleet vehicle, something like that, you know, it wasn't someone's personal car. Now, if it says personal or leased, you know that someone just leased the car and it got turned back in and now they're selling it. Or it was a personal car and the person either sold it or traded it in for something else, and they'll say it was a one owner car. Me, if you're wondering what I would do, if I'm buying a used car, I'd rather buy a used car that was not in a rental fleet and buy a one owner, because I feel that that car will be better taken care of. And I would try to get it under warranty still. So if I was going for an EV, I would get it where the car still has warranty, especially since I'm not even that familiar. I never owned an EV car. If anything goes wrong with it, I'm sure it's going to be really expensive. So I'd rather be covered out under the manufacturer's warranty than take that expense. So that is a tip. If you are like, hey, this is my opportunity, I can finally get that Model 3 under 25,000. Look for one that still has warranty. That way, if anything goes wrong, you're covered and you don't have to freak out, right? So that's one of my tips. And I would get it, you know, with just one car owner. If you want to get it brand new, go on Tesla. That's the other thing. You can go on Tesla. Tesla has a lot of incentives right now. They want to push cars. You can buy. If you like to lease, you can lease. There's good incentives. So definitely check out everything. Right now, if you're thinking about getting a car, look at new, look at used, and compare if you're looking for something fairly new. Because I will say this, even though interest rates are right now high and it's expensive to borrow money, because these car companies want to move brand new cars, if you have good credit. Now, this is all going to depend on credit, and this is going to vary on, each individual. But if you have good credit, you can get some really good interest rates on brand new cars right now, even though rates are high. Now, on the used car side, rates, they don't have like special promotions if you're financing on the used cars. The lowest I've seen it right now, depending on your credits, in the low sixes. If we get a rate cut in September, since the Fed, a lot of people, we just had a Fed meeting and they're pointing that there could be a possibility for a rate cut in September, which I hope we do get that. Then rates will start becoming, go down a little bit. And if they continue to do rate cuts, then it might be a really, really good deal to get a used car, because since prices are coming down, if the interest rates can come down, then the pre-owned market's going to be more affordable. Right now, what's going on in the pre-owned market, that you got the prices coming down, which is good, but the rates are still a little bit high. And then the benefit of the new cars is they're increasing their incentives, so you can get it for a discount from MSRP, and then they're offering low interest rates with approved credit. So if you're looking for something fairly used, it might make sense to go new. So definitely compare before you make your purchase. Hopefully I helped you out. If I did, leave me some comments down below, smash the like button, and don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next one.